This is the Freeheel Life Podcast, episode number 181. I'm your host, Josh Madsen, coming at you from the Freeheel Life shop in Salt Lake City, Utah. Welcome back, Freeheel Lifers. Always love to be here on Monday mornings with you, talking about the greatest turn on snow. And hopefully you enjoyed the weekend, and hopefully you enjoyed last week's podcast with Richard Scherf, my good friend over in Europe, who runs Freeheeler and the Testival tour over there. And if you didn't catch it, we're going to be teaming up with them in Europe this year and hopefully beyond to bring more Freeheel Life action over there. We're going to have some Freeheel Life Protector 95s on his festival tour this year. I'm super excited about that. And hopefully we'll be able to continue that relationship as we move forward. He's got some really good stuff going on as well. So let me get into some newsroom and notes. And first off, thanks for everybody that's been patient with the video podcast. Hopefully today I'm upping my game a little bit. So I'm slowly getting a little studio action figured out and kind of combining some of the technology with my mics and stuff that I had previously, and hoping that will add to the video side of it now too. So very first thing to kind of go over is, for those that live in Salt Lake City and really anywhere, we've moved primarily to appointments only in the retail shop. And really the hope here is for us to be able to provide even better service to those of you that are patronizing the business. And what was happening before is we'd get into these busy winter times a year, and there's few of us and a lot of you. And so the idea with running these appointments, and we've been doing it the last couple months, it's been really nice because we can sort of control the flow. That helps us spend more time with you for boots and tech and all that good stuff. So hopefully that's working out well for you. Now, on that note, the schedule is open for this week. So hop on there. I've added more hours. We've added more staff and hopefully some more opportunities to come in and get service, talk to somebody. One of the things that we are offering this year that I'm super excited about, and some people have been already doing, and it's been nice, is we have a 30-minute consultation call. So for those of you that may not live in Salt Lake, this gives you the chance to book in with us for a 30-minute phone call. And that way, if it's product that we carry, it's a $25 cost for 30 minutes and allows us to give us all the information you need. And you can put that $25 towards a product purchase. Now, if it's a product that we don't carry that you want us to research, I've done a couple of those already too. People want to know, hey, how does this other brand's whatever product work for Telemark? And this has been a really beautiful way for us to be able to still help with our expertise, and somebody's able to support us. So we've created a nice product out of that. So anyways, go to the service tab on freeheellife.com. You can check out all the different services we offer, from ski tunes to the best mounts in the business, to these consultation calls, and also consignment and some other stuff. So this Saturday, we are going to open up regular hours for the season. So Saturday, November 18th, we're going to be open 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. and still accepting appointments during this time, but we're actually going to have 2 people on staff. So we'll have one that's kind of fielding just people coming in. You may not know that you need an appointment. We're trying to make sure that at least on Saturday, you've got the ability to come in and shop and do all the stuff you need. And we also will have appointments doing boot fits, heat molds, all that good stuff. So if you have any questions on that, hit us up, customer service at freeheellife.com, and we will get back to you within the next day or so and see if we can help you out. Other news that is of note, Bluebird Day Gear, which we have 3 products under that name. If you haven't listened to the Jeff Cox podcast, who was the original owner of Bluebird Day Gear, I would highly recommend it. It's a great story, and we're really excited to be manufacturing those 3 products here in Salt Lake City now. We've got 3 new, well, actually more than that. We've got new retailers. where you can pick up one or all three of those items, and we're slowly trickling that stuff out to these retailers. This is specifically for Bluebird Day Gear stuff. But hey, if you want to see Freeheel Life stuff in there down the road, definitely mention it to their management and say, hey, we like Freeheel Life stuff. So awesome you're carrying the Bluebird. Hook it up. Let's get some t-shirts. Let's get some hats. Let's get these Unity tracks right here all over the planet. And that comes down to you and telling your local retailer that you want to see that stuff. So Colorado, Neptune Mountaineering in Boulder, Bentgate in Golden, and Salida Mountain Sports in Salida. Those are your Colorado retailers. We do have some more coming up in the future that I will definitely keep you in tune about. California, Mammoth Mountaineering in Mammoth Lakes, California. Check that one out. And all the way on the East Coast in New York, the Mountaineer in Keene Valley, New York. Go check them out. Shout out to my old buddy Kaz, who helped us get into there. He's an old friend from the Carhu days many, many years ago. And one of those great relationships from Telemark I've been able to make over the years. And now it's cool because he works for the Mountaineer and we make product, and we were able to put a deal together. So scope that out if you're in Keene Valley. Also in Utah, Alta Ski Shop's going to be carrying stuff. So you're at the base of the ski area, and definitely good for us because a lot of times people are staying at lodges and things of that nature where they can't get down to the valley, and psyched to be up in those shops as well. And of course, at Freeheel Life, we've got them online, freeheellife.com. I've got leashes and smile plates right now, and I'm working on another batch of heel levers and machining all that aluminum down into those fine products that you know so well. If you're a retailer out there in an area and you think you'd be a good fit, maybe you listen to the podcast, you know what we're up to. I'm trying to go through and vet shops, find the right fit for us. And I'm really looking to make sure we give you some geographic exclusivity when we sell our products and make it so we can direct traffic there. And that's something that's super important to me, having done retail for the last 8 years. We want to make sure we're not only bringing great product to the market, but we're getting telemarketers to your spot. So if you want to know more information about that, see a pricing sheet, hit me up direct, podcast@freeheellife.com, and we can start a conversation. And super psyched about that. Now, there's been some things that have gone down lately that really got me thinking about the current state of Telemark and where I think it's heading in the next few years and beyond. It's always the big question, and people always want to know. It seems like that question never goes away, which is good because we're always thinking, where is this thing going? And at first, these few things that happened to me seem sort of like individual incidents that didn't have much to do with each other. But as I started thinking more and more about them, the connections between them became even more apparent to me, that they were joined together. Even though they didn't seem like it at first, the more and more I thought about it, they all tied together into these maybe common issues that I think, I don't know if plague is the right word, but just some common issues that kind of come up that I think slowed down the process of Telemark growing. So I thought I'd connect the dots in this podcast and talk a little bit about each of these experiences that I had and how I think these types of things impact telemark skiing as a whole, and ultimately discuss my 3 top reasons telemark skiing struggles to grow. As the guy who literally started the idea of spread telemark, I want telemark to grow. Okay. That's so important to me. It's brought a lot of happiness to my life on so many levels, but especially just going out in the mountains and skiing. I think it's such a fantastic turn to learn. And I want that to be something everybody has access to. And there's a lot of ways to achieve that, but the stuff I want to talk about today, I think sort of illustrates some of the struggles and these are personal experiences, and they're things that, but I thought they were indicative of maybe issues that other people may come across either now or in the future. And, or, not even just on the business side of the house, but also just being in, the trickle down effect of where this may lead to you. The very first reason I think that telemark skiing struggles to grow is the business of telemark is not run by telemarketers. Okay. Or even people that have an interest in being knowledgeable about telemark skiing to the level that they need to. I'll be the first to say, I get it. There's not a lot of jobs in telemark skiing, okay? So it's unlikely that there's any sort of education that's going to go along with that. Now, I've always said, general business practices, marketing skills, all of these things can apply and should apply. And I think there's so much talent out there that we would probably, as telemark as a whole, we would benefit from some high-level expertise and education in those fields. But I think a problem is that the businesses are not run by people who do this or understand it and understand the people that do it. So an example, like the end user of the product in telemark is a very unique person. And it should be understood by the people running the businesses, in my opinion. Whether it's a manufacturer, a retailer, an instructor, whatever, if you are presenting telemark as a product, you should, in my opinion, know what the hell is going on. And if you don't, it's going to affect the way that the business is being run. In an example of this, like if you think about it, it's like if you took an alpine skier and they got a job at a snowboard company, okay? They've never strapped on a snowboard ever and don't know anything about it. Are they going to do a better job than someone who snowboards regularly, understands the customer, and implements good business practices utilizing a deep knowledge of that end user because he or she is one of them as well? That's my thought. I think we would benefit a lot from that. And I think we have not benefited a lot from that over the years because the people that are a lot of times making the decisions are not people who actually do the thing. And you got to have that proximity, in my opinion. And Freeheel Life, part of why I thought we would have a good ability as a brand, as a retail shop, all the different things that we've done is we're part of it, and I think that that's incredibly, incredibly important. And that's what I wanted to bring to the table is that ability to know what we're making and what we're saying is probably something that you also want out there. On this note, I think companies have gotten away with doing a lot of the heavy lifting themselves, and they're really just trying to maintain some semblance of them being a part of telemark through proximity to people that actually do know what's going on. And that's not a bad thing. If you think it's like, anything in life, most of us have jobs, most of us work in businesses, if you think about it, like in terms of like leadership or something like that, a good leader is going to be humble and going to know that they don't have all the assets that they need or all of the education that they need. So what do? They surround themselves with people that know that stuff that they don't know. That totally makes sense to me. I think what's missing in this particular case is some of the companies that claim to be part of telemark, they're sort of masquerading a little bit as a telemark company when they want to, and they really don't know what's going on, but they're just trying to kind of latch onto these little things around them and not really do the work and not really figure out what I said before. They don't know what's going on. And I think that causes a lot of issues too down the road. You can only do that for so long. And at some point you've got to, if you're going to sell telemark, anywhere in your product line, you got to know what's going on. And otherwise it's not going to work out in the end. And so that's what I'm saying here is, I understand a lot of what I preach is always like, let's build our own industry. Let's have Telemark specific companies. And I still believe that, but I'm also aware that the resource level of, we're all very, very small companies if that's the case, right? And that's fine. And I think that should happen too. But if you're a larger company and you want to dabble in Telemark, maybe don't dabble, be a part of it. Understand what you're doing, understand what you're making, and make decisions based on what the people need out there. All of this to say, I had an experience recently, and this is kind of what got me thinking about it because, I've been talking on the last couple episodes, we're making a lot of shifts and changes and, really going back to the roots of what Freeheel Life was meant to be, which is making our own stuff, focusing on that. And, this is something that I've been thinking more about, but I've always thought about it. And I had an experience months back that really illustrated what I was just explaining, and definitely left a bad taste in my mouth, and I thought it was worth sharing here, pieces of it. For years, we had sold another company's skis and other products. Okay. And that was necessity for us. Like we couldn't do it ourselves where we could make enough product to keep up with the demand that we were creating for the shop. And so people were coming in and, we were trying to figure it out, but we couldn't. And so like a lot of the other stuff in the early days, we decided, hey, let's take some product on as long as it generally fits the mission of what we're trying to do. And for now, that's what we're going to do. And during that time period, we became the spot for that particular brand. And in my opinion, we did a lot of heavy lifting. I mean, we were the proximity to Telemark because that's all we did, and they weren't touching it. That's cool. And I thought, hey, this is a mutually beneficial thing for me. There's a legacy of Telemark in their past, and but I think what we brought to the table was we were able to market the product specifically to Telemark skiers. We were able to review the product. We were able to sell the product. It gave us product to sell to help pay the bills. Well, as I was starting to look at, hey, it's time to move on. It's time for me to just get back to what we're trying to do. And in this particular case, it was, we're going to make our own skis. And we already had been making our own skis for a couple years. And so out of respect to this company, I sat down with them twice. These are people that I've been involved with for like 2 decades. I felt like making that big of a change. I thought out of respect, I'll go sit down. I'll have a chat with them. I'll explain what we're doing, and that we're going to be focusing on making our own product, make a go of it ourselves. And so that all the efforts of what we're doing, when we're doing videos and we're doing all this, would lead people back to our products, which I told them I thought we had a better understanding of the people, the customers, the Telemark skiers, and we could make a better product. And I was just being honest. And, I was pretty blunt about the fact that we had been able to maintain quite a bit of exposure in Telemark through our online platforms and customer-based expertise. I felt like we knew more than they did. And also we had less resources. So it was like, hey, out of respect, I'm telling you our changes. I realize that's going to potentially put us in competition if you guys still go that route within Telemark, which they hadn't for years and years and years. But, I accepted that. And I love that because I love the idea that, and I literally said, hey, that I was told you're crazy. That's a really bad move. And I said, at the end of the day, if I fail, I tank Freeheel Life because of this particular decision. At least I'm going out with respect. for myself, and I know that I'm doing the right thing. And I felt like I was honest with them, and that was kind of it, long story short is I walk out of this second meeting, like I said, with this guy that I've known for 2 decades, and he doesn't understand why I'm doing this. He doesn't get it. And but he puts his hand out, and he more or less said he didn't understand or agree with my decision to not sell their product anymore. But he said the door, quote, the door's always open if you decide you want to work together again. In my world, that means a lot. You shake my hand and you tell me that we're good. I was trying to show respect, and you put your hand out and we shake hands. I think that's a respectable way to move into a different type of relationship, which I understood was going to be a competitive relationship, and I invited that. I was stoked. Kind of what happened next is I walked out thinking, all right, cool, I'm on my own. Here we go. We're on our own. Me and my small group of people, and Freeheel Life's on its own. And here we go. We're going to give it a shot. We're going to make, in this particular scenario, we're going to make skis, and we're going to try to make the best damn skis out there and sell them to our Telemark customers. And I thought they would go their merry way. And I don't know what happened, because next thing I know, I'm catching wind that, I went in there and talked some mad shit on their company. And that's what they told all their people and stuff. And I thought, man, that's crazy. And, the sad part about this whole story is, compete. Yeah, let's compete. I love that. But to actually watch them kind of do things to spite us outwardly, and kind of do some things that, and I won't even get into specifics, but it's fascinating that someone can shake your hand and then basically kind of take an active role to then try to crush you, not just if you outcompete us. Because if you outcompete me and I suck and I don't work hard enough and I lose, that's my own damn fault. How it went down after that, pretty lame in my opinion. So I'm just going to kind of leave that at that. And the reason I tell that story is, one, because I told the truth in that situation, and people that are making decisions to make equipment for Telemark skiers out there, they don't know what they're talking about. A lot of them. And guess what? If they want to learn, awesome. That's the point, right? We want more people involved, but don't be upset if I come and tell you, hey, you don't know what you're talking about, because you said a bunch of crazy shit and you don't really know what you're talking about. So just know who you're buying stuff from, because this is literally what has held us back for so many years, is people that are running these businesses a lot of times, because Telemark doesn't really have its own industry in the sense that I've always talked about it. It's tough because it's let people sort of make product and sort of not really make all the money on that product and sort of just coast. Don't let them coast. Let's get companies involved, but let's make sure that they know they're putting in the effort to get the product that we need. And that's, to wrap up that particular story, the reason I'm making the choices I am with Freeheel Life to try to go out on our own, try to make product, is because I really truly believe we can make product based on what we learn from all of you out there. And that's cool. And like I said, if we make it, it's this constant experiment to see if it's going to work. I'm all about it. And I'll be so happy, because then we can say, hey, we put the effort in and we actually made product for people that were like us, that did the thing that we do. And they saw that and they understood it. And by supporting us and not the fair weather folks, that it actually started to grow, because we spent our money with them. And when I say them, it could be us, it could be somebody else that's in that camp too. But I want to earn your business. That's important to me. And I want to keep your business. So feel free whenever you want, ask us questions about what we stand for, why we're doing it, and I know that will help us grow. And if you continue to support people like us out there, this is going to grow a lot faster than supporting people that literally take your money, don't actually understand what you're doing, and then they just sort of, move on. And I think that's it. Okay, so let's hop into this number 2 reason that I think Telemark doesn't grow as fast as it could. This is Telemark is still not dead, but the companies sure like to kill the retailers. Let's get into this, because when I set out over 8 years ago to create a true Telemark shop, not a backcountry shop with Telemark gear, but a true, legit Telemark shop, it was always an experiment. I knew the people were out there. I knew that people were hungry for a place that gave them access to knowledge and equipment. I knew we needed it. I knew I wanted it too. 100%. It's selfish, because in my mind, I always thought how cool it was that I always think of snowboarding, because I always felt like when I was growing up, even as a Telemark kid, because I started literally, this is my 30th year of being a Telemark skier. So 30 years ago, I'm rolling into snowboard shops and I'm like, I always remember thinking, man, these shops are rad. They got their own brands. They've got their own clothing. The culture's infused into it. The guy selling me the stuff does the thing. It was a place to go. And that's what I was setting out to do with Freeheel Life, was to try that, to make it a legitimate Telemark shop. That was so important to me. And I know over the last 8 years, people have enjoyed it too. And it's been fun learning what works, what doesn't work. Like I said, it's an experiment. Freeheel Life is like, it's like a beaker that we're like putting a bunch of random, things into. And, sometimes it blows up in our face and smokes everywhere. And sometimes it works. That's just how it is. I mean, that's why it's fun. It's not easy, but it's fun. So what I've learned in the past 8 years has been interesting, though. In many ways, I think we've really succeeded in creating a new type of space, a true Telemark shop, like I was saying. But I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is that doesn't matter much if the people making the equipment and selling it to us, to retail, don't buy into the value of not only the specific space, but also the space that possesses the most knowledge to service the people buying it. That's probably been the most interesting thing I've learned, because now that I'm making stuff, we are making stuff, our small crew is making stuff. We want to sell it to these retail shops. And all I can think of is that when that product leaves Freeheel Life and goes to another retailer, literally all I can think of is, how can I make sure that they succeed by having all of the knowledge that they need to sell that product the best? I don't know if that's just because we've been in retail the last 8 years. I'm not sure, but I know that's the feeling that I get now that we're actually doing that. So the last couple of years, I've been watching an interesting trend happen with one brand that we carry. And I've recently had some conversations with that brand about what I'm seeing and how I think we could better work together, in my opinion. Here's what's going on. The trend that's happening is that there's this idea, I think, with certain brands where they have an idea that we all want to grow Telemark, okay? 1,000%. We all want to grow Telemark. But the trend is this. It's the idea that if you just open more shops, meaning the lingo of, you're a brand, a manufacturer, a rep, you're the person who sells the product wholesale to a retailer for them to retail it to the public. The idea that you're going to open, we always say like open more doors. So if you have more doors that you open, I think that there's this, and maybe I'm seeing it as a trend more from my side. There's probably a rep out there or a brand, and they're like, that's always been going on. It's in every it's in every facet of life in terms of people that buy and sell products. I agree. I'm not saying this is like a new concept, but I'm especially seeing it in Telemark lately, and it's odd to me because it's this idea that if we just make it easy for anybody to carry a product, that somehow that is growing Telemark. My philosophy differs on this because, like I said, we've worked really hard to create a space where people can come primarily by word of mouth. We work by referral. People have a good experience. They understand that we are knowledgeable beyond what they could find elsewhere, and they share that with their friends, family, people on the lift, whatever, and then people also come visit us. That's the best way to build a business, in my opinion, and because people had a good experience and then they came. My idea is if you can do the first thing I said and open more shops everywhere, and they can provide the service that goes along with the product, that makes sense, because then that means things are going really well and there's enough demand. And then that idea, because this is how it's been pitched to me when I've shared this idea to other people and said, hey, we're not a really big, there's not a real big pie here. And I want everyone to get as much pie as they want, but I want the people that are working the hardest, like us, and have the most knowledge and putting the most time in. I want us to get as much pie as we can, right? But let's try to get, if we are going to give these other slices of pie out, let's make sure that they've got the filling in the pie. Because what's happening around, and I'm seeing this isn't just us. I've talked to other retailers and I'm seeing the exact same thing. And this is where I think Telemark will not grow. Part of Telemark is it really truly is a craft. And when you're talking about selling gear to people, there's a lot that goes along with this. It's not like walking into a grocery store and buying a jug of milk and there's like a couple things of milk, and you're like, well, I don't drink dairy. Okay, there's the almond milk. I'm going to get like, you can make those decisions on your own. It's not that hard. Telemark equipment is way more complicated and it requires some expertise. And that's why it's also a difficult business, because you can't, how do you train people to the level of, with turnover and training new people? And, you've got to train people from like leather boots from, whenever to, NTN stuff. So there's challenges within that too. But by just spreading out equipment, this idea that you just spread out equipment, it actually hurts the people like Freeheel Life and other shops. Like I said, this isn't just, I wouldn't even bring this up if it was just us. If with something, a pie that's so small, if you just divvy it up into a million pieces, the people that actually are going to serve that customer the best, a lot of times aren't going to survive. And that's the point I'm trying to make. I think if we're going to grow, we need to understand. And so let me kind of parlay this into a couple other things. It's not just retail I'm talking about. This isn't just me griping about, this brand wants to do this. They can do whatever they want, but this goes across the board. It goes instruction. It goes product. We need to have some level of expertise in order to give access to people. And we need to access to the gear. And then we need to give them the expertise to share how it works. And that's super important. It's the same thing with instruction. Like, we need people that actually know how to make the turn. We need instruction. We need affordable instruction. We need to create opportunities for people to be able to get there and go take a lesson once they get the gear from us. Anyways, the thing that's most disturbing to me is I want to make sure that there's some sort of a consensus about how we're going to do this, because my fear, especially as time goes by every year, and I've been talking about this on the podcast, is some of these smaller retailers that are passionate or have been the Telemark place to go. If you flood the area because that's what your mind is telling you as a manufacturer, as a brand, you're like, I'm going to put my equipment everywhere in that town, because that's going to grow Telemark. That is dumb, in my opinion, because that dude who literally needs every bit of that business, you're flooding the area to the point where, one, there's no incentive for him to carry the product any longer, and two, it's just like it's a race to the bottom. He can't even order as much. And my fear is that a lot of these people are going to go away just because of age, honestly. We're getting to the point where if we don't pass this stuff along, like the independent retailer can't survive, he's not going to pass that independent retail shop on to somebody else. And even if he does, they might not care about Telemark. The grand scheme of things that I'm trying to get across here, as a community, my belief is we need to focus on the people that can pass this on to other interested people. Okay? One, like I said, we need to know what the brands are doing. That includes us. Know what we're about. Know what our mission is. Our mission is preserve, protect, and promote telemark skiing. That's it. Through our products, through our services. What are the missions of the other people you're buying from? Number two, are those people that we just talked about, are they actually growing telemark just by selling a bunch of product in an area? Because they're taking a big risk, because I think in the process we're going to lose a lot of the knowledge and a lot of the passion from the people that need that. And I don't want to see that happen. So I hope that came across in a way that is understandable. And I hope you know this. Of course, these are experiences that I'm having personally as a business, and literally I'm having these conversations myself. But I also see other people that I know out there that have similar businesses. It's that important to me to bring this up, because if we're going to work together, that's the way to work together, is to listen to these types of things. Otherwise, it becomes a real headache for people to survive. So I think that's enough on that one. Let's move to number 3. So number 3 is progress doesn't mean forget the past. It means build upon it. I debated on this one for a little while. I think anybody who's listened to the podcast for a long time, a lot of times articles pop up. People send them to me for obvious reasons. They're like, oh, Josh is going to want to read this one. And I get the article and I read it. And it's, and I'm always like, I don't even want to chime in on this one. But I'm going to, because I feel like it plays in. Like I said, these things seemed not connected at first, but I feel like they're connected. So recently a ski magazine article came out, and it said, the title of it was "The New Generation of Telemark Skiers is Here to Challenge the Status Quo." And it's a grassroots project based out of Colorado, is looking to challenge the outdated status quo of what it means to be a telemark skier. I found this pretty interesting because it definitely struck a chord with me, because first off, the title, I'm thinking status quo. I'm like, what is the status quo? I don't know. Look, I love the rebellious nature of it. That's cool. It goes on to say, let me read this next part, because this is the this is the part that kind of got me, along with the title. Now, keep in mind, this was literally written like weeks ago, 2023. Since the first recorded recreational telemark turns in the mid 1800s, the turn, the tech, and the riders have seen incredible advancements, but the perception of telemark skiing remains aged, with floppy bindings, granola diets, unkept beards, and smells of patchouli. For God's sake, I mean, this is literally written in 2023. That is insane to me. Like, this is like, it doesn't even make sense to me, because when I read that, I literally thought I had transported back like 25 years ago. Okay. And that's why I said, like, the title, I like the rebelliousness because I was that guy too. I get it. And what's funny is when I read this, I'm thinking to myself, this is bizarre. Like floppy bindings, granola diets. I'm like, have you looked at equipment in 2023? Like, yes, are there cable bindings still? Sure. I guess, do they flop? I guess so. Granola diets. I mean, this is like the way that this is worded is so uneducated that it doesn't make any sense. I'm all about, you know, fighting, I'm all about rebelling against whatever's going on. But it's kind of like, I don't know if any of you play music out there, but it's like if someone gave you a guitar and you just said, I'm going to write a song and screw music theory, I'm just going to play whatever the hell I want. And it's going to be awesome. And I'm going to say it's awesome. But you don't really understand like the fundamentals underneath it. It's really hard to just make a great song that sounds good without understanding the fundamentals of the notes and which notes go in which key and how to play those notes together. Because great things come when you understand the basics. And part of what irks me about this article is the article sucks. It just doesn't even make any sense. But it shows that nobody's really understanding the fundamentals. And I think in this case, it's more like historical fundamentals. And then look, if you're going to take your own take on something and you're going to make it into something new, I'm all about that. But this has like complete disregard for so much that has happened and so many things that have happened. So I'm just going to keep going on. And it says, the goal of this project was to redevelop and reintroduce the culture of Telemark through meetups, athlete programs, films, and media. Main objective is to provide the current and future communities with a platform like those available to Telemark's alpine and snowboarding brothers and sisters, a true springboard for the community to share, celebrate, and innovate all things Telly. So before I go on, I am in no way trying to discourage anyone from doing anything. I think it's great. Let's all get involved. What this doesn't do is act like all of this stuff existed beforehand, because it did. And, I think about, and maybe I'm misunderstanding this thing, but the way that it's written is so weird to me that it literally sounds like something from like 25 years ago, where it's like, we're fighting the hippies, man. Screw the hippies and all the granola eating people, and let's make cool, rad stuff. I mean, that's like my era, so that's what's weird about this whole thing. It doesn't seem like it's happened. And I don't think if anything, it should give a nod to people like Dickie Hall, who ran meetups for 40 years, literally taught generations of telemark skiers on the East Coast and all around how to telemark ski. There's I think, sticking on the East Coast, you had like New England telemark, that was sort of a counterpart to that. They were doing the same thing. You've got Midwest Telemark, Midwest Telefest right now, like that we're involved in. That's been going on. Next year, I think this year's year 34, and it's going to be going on beyond that. Sun Valley Tele, 40 years. So when you're talking about meetups and stuff, it's just kind of, the whole thing's kind of funny to me. Anyways, and then I was even thinking of stuff that I had done, and this is what kind of made me laugh, because I'm thinking, oh man, that sounds a lot like something else I've read. So I went and looked for lipstick films when I went on tour with my movies back in 2007. Here's a it just it's funny to me because it's kind of similar. 2007 Summit Daily from Colorado. This was, I think we were showing a movie, the Dylan Dam Brewery in Dillon. And this is quote, "What made the filming of this movie a success was the dedication of up-and-coming freeheel athletes that Lipstick had the pleasure of working with," Madsen said. "They are athletes that are doing things out there that have never been captured on film before. They are the poster children for the new freeheel movement." And I was laughing because it's literally like the same new freeheel movement, 2007. And in 2023, we are calling it the new generation of telemark skiers. So look, it's a repeat. There was another one. I'm not even gonna post that one. It was actually in Ski Magazine, which is even more mind blowing because it was in the same magazine, and it was an article that they had done with me talking about it. And it's the same thing. In 2009, I'm talking about like filming youth athletes and, creating a platform for them. 2011, I found this one too. I thought was interesting. This was on the Loyalty Tour. This was a press release that had gotten published ahead of a showing. Loyalty explores the revolutionary youth telemark movement while also introducing some of the best telemark skiing on the planet. The flick blends appearances from TSM Crew, which was Telemark Skier Magazine crew, a first of its kind athlete content creation team. And that was something I put together back in 2011, where the athletes in the movie were like the content creators. They wrote the articles for the magazines. Point being, we can't let history repeat itself just because we're lazy. Okay. There are so many examples of media, equipment, ideas that new people, they hop into the mix of telemark with good intentions. And like I said, I'm not trying to discourage people, but I'm saying they hop in with good intentions, but they just end up doing the same thing over again because there's no one around to maintain the standard. Unfortunately, our retention in telemark is pretty terrible, like from a user standpoint and also from like a business standpoint. And also like, basically what I'm saying is there's a lot of people, awesome people that have come along and made products. They've made videos and events. And guess what? They just aren't around anymore because there wasn't enough. These all go back. Like there's not enough of a supportive community where we can compete with one another, but we're working together to kind of build this thing. And that is what is so frustrating, for me, when I read this stuff and I see the cycle repeating again. And I'm almost more frustrated because so much more could be done. This is me, this podcast. If someone listens to it, awesome. But this podcast is making the point that there is someone out here that is going to hold the standard, and not even my own standard for my own business. It's just the standard of what has been done. Do something better and learn what has been done and what hasn't worked so we can grow. This is what is slowing us down. If you're going to get involved, which trust me, I understand the risk involved in starting a telemark business of any sort, media, equipment, all these things we've talked about. It is tough, but know what has been done beforehand so you can build on top of that, or you can learn why it didn't work for the other people that have done it. Okay? Because to me, it doesn't make sense to just constantly repeat and repeat and repeat. There are standards. Make sure you know what's back there in the history books, so we can build, we can grow, we can learn. And if you just walk in and pick up the guitar and play a bunch of shitty chords and think it's cool because you think you're the first one to do it, you're not. And there's going to be some person that understands the fundamentals and understands how the notes go together. And those are the people that are going to create beautiful new music out of it. And, some people might not like that music, but at least they're doing something that's based on the fundamentals and the basics. So, all of that to say that I hope you enjoyed the podcast. And I love Telemark so much. I love what it's about, and I love the community out there and all the great people that have come along and tried to do stuff. So I want to reiterate that even though I told some stories and some anecdotal stuff that, I'm not stoked about. I wish it would have gone differently. Still wish it would go differently in a lot of ways. I'm sharing that in hopes that the standard gets set for everybody. Let's be good people. Let's try to be good businesses. Let's try to be good consumers, me included. How do we grow this community and also compete with one another? And that's important because we can do all of those things. And I look forward to seeing how that's all going to do it. And as far as the history stuff goes, let's all try to do a better job of making sure we're building on top of what has already been done. And if you hate what has been done in the past, that's cool too. But there's something good to pull out of most things. And I think Telemark's in a very good place. I don't really think it has a marketing issue as much as it has all of these issues going on. Telemark's rad, and the right people are going to want to do it. What we need to do is create access to equipment, access to instruction, access to expertise, and we need to continue to build our communities in order to keep that stuff around. Because if you don't, we all risk losing it, and it's just going to sort of hover out there. So thanks for letting me talk. I hope you guys have a great Monday. And as always, I'll be back next Monday. And until then, spread Telemark always, my friends. See you later. Peace.